Hey, how's it going? Jeff Lerner here, and in this video we're talking about how to be a better leader. I promise you there is not one skill you can acquire in your life that can do more to create more possibility and more long-term upside in your life than learning the skills of leadership. So let's talk about it. Okay, so leadership, it's kind of a vague term. It makes us maybe think of like the military or like coaching or something. It's not a term that gets talked about a lot in like school, and it's not something that, maybe a lot of people immediately think of as like, hey, how can I move my life forward? But I can tell you two things. One, real leadership doesn't take the form that most people think of as leadership, like in terms of the stereotypes that come to mind, like General Patton or Vince Lombardi or something. That's not typically how real, quote, real effective, productive leadership shows up in the world. And secondly, I can tell you that it is an essential part of being able to get results on demand, of being able to say, how can I have an idea in this world, an idea or maybe a business idea or something I feel like I can do to make an impact, and how can I actually get it to fruition and have that impact or realize that result? Leadership is a critical component of the ability to be effective in this world. And I know this because around my late 20s, like I've talked about in other videos, I started really learning the skills that would ultimately go on to transform my life in terms of business and income and just changing my future, changing my options, being able to travel, being able to live more freely, and create everything that I've been able to create. But over the course of about the next, really 12 years, I guess it's been 12 years, I learned that there is a ceiling on what you can do when you are ineffective in terms of leadership. And what I mean is, the first few years, I kind of hacked my way to making good money. There's some things you can learn on the internet, and I talk a lot about this on this channel. By the way, if you're not subscribed to my channel, I encourage you to do that. If I talk about, essentially, it's like hacks and tips and strategies and hard-fought lessons on how to have an awesome life. That's my commitment. That's my passion, is helping people have an awesome life. If you think you'd like to have an awesome life, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. One of the things I talk about a lot with that is like ways to pay for your awesome life, right? Like how to make more money, how to, in particular, learn the skills of the computer, of the internet, and really just the modern economy. It's not all digital, it's not all web-based, but a lot of it is. But learning those skills can really unlock a lot of potential for you in terms of income. And that happened for me when I was about 28 years old. Started making pretty good money with affiliate marketing and some other kind of related online business models. I thought that because I was making decent money that meant I was a good business person. I had been in a lot of debt and I was able to pay off my debt. And now I had surplus cash and I'm like, oh, I'm a baller. I'm a good business person, right? But for several years, my early 30s, it was like I struggled to really ever turn the corner to go to that next level, right? It was like I had gotten to a level where, I was making certainly good money and I was out of debt and I didn't feel like I was a total loser anymore, but I couldn't seem to like really build things that would last. Like all the internet stuff seemed to be like quick money, like affiliate marketing can be, there's different types of affiliate marketing, but the things that seemed to work for me were things that would like come and go. They weren't long-term, they weren't stable, they weren't built to last. And it was actually something that had nothing to do with business. And at the time, I didn't know it had anything to do with leadership that kind of helped me break through that. Where in my early 30s, I guess when I was 32, I moved from New York City where I was living, because as an internet marketer, I could live where I wanted. And I had decided I wanted to live in Manhattan, which was really fun for a year, but ended up being really lonely, even though you're surrounded by people. Like everybody's got doing their own thing, right? I ended up meeting the woman who's now my wife, who lived in southern Utah, this little town I'd never heard of, little area called St. George. Moved across the country, moved in with her. She had 3 kids that I've since adopted. They're now my kids. And we basically got to work kind of building a family. Building a family. It was like, I mean, it's laughable and now to look back, but it was really, really hard work, and the stakes were really high because I had uprooted my whole life, and she had, essentially uprooted her whole life to accept me into her life, and her kids. There were kids involved, and we didn't want to mess it up and mess up the kids, and the stakes were really high. And so we started going to family therapy to say, like, let's do this right. And over the next several years, and still to this day, have become this like an ardent devotee of a process, a type of therapy that's called, cognitive behavioral therapy or cognitive restructuring. And it's basically all about how to change the way your thought patterns result or convert into your actions in the world, right? And all that to say, I mean, we don't have to get into the nuances of CBT in this video, but what I will say is I became a really, really good leader over those next few years, not by studying leadership, not by studying management, not by studying anything that I even understood was going to have a commercial benefit at the time, but it was by learning to communicate, to validate, to be empathetic, like I even took a test that was like personality mapping. I had a really low empathy score. After a couple years of doing work with family and wanting to build something and just wanting people to like the way it felt to be around me, for lack of a better term, or to engage with me, and wanting them to feel the love that I knew that I felt for them, but not really necessarily knowing how to communicate it. 2 years later, my empathy score had gone from like the bottom 10th percentile up to like I was in like the high 70s. I think it's actually gotten probably improved since then. But that ability to just communicate with people in a way where they connect, they feel heard, they feel supported, they feel validated, they feel empathized, was actually my beginnings of becoming a good leader. And I look back now, I have the benefit of hindsight and say, okay, that was around, I was 34. That was around the time I started the company that was actually my first success at building a real company, not just having, sales funnels or mechanisms on the internet that could pay me well, but actually building something. And over the next 6 years, built a digital marketing agency that was on the Inc. 5000 multiple times, did over $20 million in sales. The thing that I'm most proud of about it is that we built an incredible team of people. I think at the biggest, it employed about 60 people, kind of tended to hover around 40 people. And it was just such a cool group, such a cool energy and a cool culture and a cool team of really great people that were all really, really bought in. And I realize now to this day, I sold most of the agency last year, sold most of the client book, and we shrunk it down. Now it's less than 10 people. I realized like we were like a family. There was a lot of love in that building, and I look at the things that we had to deal with in order to grow and be as successful as we were. It was kind of like a family where like you get through it through your connection and through your love and through your desire to see each other win. And that was something that I think myself and my COO, who was who still is with the agency, still my partner in that agency, and she's really warm, loving person. She was somebody that I met. Her kids were friends with my kids, and she was a mom. Like first and foremost, she's a mom, and she takes care of people. And we just had an energy in that building where we cared about people, and that got us through in a very, very competitive space. The space that we were in, we had just here in Southern Utah over the 6 years that we ran that business, we had at least 10 competitors pop up that I can count, that I knew of. There's probably more. And all 10 of them didn't last more than a year. And we ran for 6 years, and we're probably 10 or 20 times bigger than any of them. And it was because I believe of our energy and our connective tissue at that business was that we genuinely cared about each other. And I realized from that, and I realize, certainly now looking back, that you can get a lot done in this world if you care about people. And there's a lot to support this, right? I mean, Teddy Roosevelt, I think, is attributed with a quote of saying, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Another good Teddy Roosevelt quote is that he said, talk softly, speak softly, but carry a big stick, right? In other words, people know what you can do. They know you have the power or the strength, right? But speak softly, like like get on the level, connect with people, right? That's all about leadership. And I can say that, in terms of pure economic result for me, I tried growing a business when I sucked as a leader. I became a good leader simply by becoming a good communicator and genuinely learning to really actively love and care about people. I always felt like a loving person, but in terms of learning how to actively love in a way where they felt it too, and then, set appropriate boundaries in terms of not overextending yourself, but then go build an organization where you're human and you're organic and you're transparent in your spirit, that like, hey, we're not just here to do business and we're not just here to make money. We're here to love and support and see people thrive. And then, now everything I touch, everything I do, that always seems to suffuse it. As people say, oh, it feels so human, it feels so real, it feels so authentic, it doesn't feel stuffy or corporate or feel like it's just all about the bottom line or the almighty dollar. And yeah, it's because I've learned that leadership is all about how people feel when they interact with you. That's the variable that you're trying to control. Now, it doesn't mean that you coddle. It doesn't mean that you don't hold high standards. Obviously, organizations have to perform, but that just comes down to modeling. The thing is, think about a family. There's two ways that you get stuff done in a family. Let's say as the leader of a family, or maybe the parent, let's say, is either you try to force people or you set the standard and you love and you cherish and you treasure and you provide, and then people don't want to disappoint because they feel like that's part of how they show love. That's how they reciprocate, is by participating cooperatively in the family unit. So the kid says, don't worry, Mom, I'll do the dishes. I'll do the dishes tonight, because that's how they add love back into the equation, right? And so it's not because they were forced, and you're probably like, well, my kid never does the dishes. I mean, there's a lot of different ways it shows up, but basically cooperation is a whole lot more effective functional model than coercion. And so to try to create a cooperative corporate or business environment, I think, is by far the most effective form of leadership. And there's a few ways that you do that. One I have found, and I talk a lot about this in videos, is absolute clarity of your mission and purpose. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I'm dogmatic about you must have a mission statement in your personal life, and anything you're trying to do in business, you must have a mission statement in your professional life or in the business, something that everybody can align with and that you can use really as a filter to say, if you're going to be here, this is what we're all working for, and this is what we all have to align with. And if you don't want to align with this, that's fine, but maybe you don't need to be here, right? And I have those in every business that I do. I have multiple businesses. We still have the digital agency. I have my entrepreneurial education company. I have my real estate business. I have my personal investment company. Every one of them has a mission statement. And then I have a mission statement on top of that. That's my personal mission statement. So anybody that gets involved in anything that I'm doing, they have a very convenient way to say, hey, do I align with this? Is this something I want to be a part of? And I'll share with them my personal mission statement, and they say, do I align with this person? And do I want to work with him? I think you have to have clarity of what your mission is, or else you're not going to be able to lead anyone. The other thing that is really, really important, and there's a book that coined this term, extreme ownership, by Leif Babin and Jocko Willink, who are a couple ex-Navy SEALs. Really, really great book. But without needing to recount the specifics of the book, the thing I love about the book is it just resonated so deeply with me about A, my personal philosophy, but B, what I have found to be the most effective form of leadership. Again, it's parental. It's the sense that whatever's happening, it's my responsibility. I think of being a parent where I say, listen, anything that happens in this family, I'm taking ownership of. Even if my kid wrecked a car, or even if my kid turned the paper in late, or had a problem at school, or my wife, or whatever. It's my family. I'm the provider for this family. I'm the responsible party for this family. I'm the person who has a desire to see this family thrive. So whatever it is, I'm willing to get involved and try to help. Not blame, not point blame, but also not try to remove responsibility from or keep other people from participating in the responsibility. But it's at the end of the day to say, okay, I'm willing to add myself to the responsibility because I'm wanting to take responsibility for making a productive solution. Like the same way that a good parent is in a family, is how you need to be in any organization where you're trying to get a result. When people feel that energy from you, I mean, I'll use a tangible example. So like there have been times when people were, we had like maybe a salesperson that was struggling, and I will actually get on the phone with them and help them close a sale. We have, a situation where maybe somebody's struggling to meet a certain deliverable, and I'll say, hey, let's get together. It's kind of like you're helping your kid with your homework. Say, listen, let's get this done together, all right? Because you got to turn this in the morning. Being like that in business, and not just saying, well, damn it, you're letting me down, or me, anything that's me-centric, anything that says, well, you got to get this done because I said so, is bad leadership. The best leadership is servant leadership. And there's a book that I'll share with you, and I don't want to run out of time on this video, so I'm going to kind of push through this, but there's a book that I'll share with you that's been really, really powerful for me about taking where I am now even and taking it to the next level. It's always about leveling up, right? And this book is called Tribal Leadership, and it basically breaks any organization down, any tribe, into 5 different cultures. And the 5 different cultures basically are like levels 1 through 5, and they're most easily summed up by these basic statements of belief about the world. And they go like this. Level 1 is life sucks. Level 2 is my life sucks. Not all life, but just my life. I got a raw deal. Level 3 is I'm great. In other words, at a lower level, my life sucks, but because of my own efforts, I'm great. Next is we're great. Level 4 is we're great. Like, hey, we as a team, we as a division, we as a company, we're great. And then level 5 is life is great, where there's so much greatness, it doesn't have to be competitive at any level. In other words, our team is great, but their team is great too. Our company's great, but their company's great too. It's just great all around. Reading about these 5 levels of leadership and how they show up in different organizations, and this book is deeply researched and has tons of data and anecdotal stories and how this shows up in big business and corporate America. It's so true and it's so powerful. And what I realize is, I'm in a great position now because my current business, my entrepreneurial education company, even this YouTube channel, is based on a premise that life is awesome, or life is meant to be awesome, right? I say it all the time. Life's meant to be awesome. We just got to do the work. It's on the banner of this YouTube channel. It says life is meant to be awesome, right? Well, if level 5 leadership is that life is great, I'm halfway there just by virtue of the slogan, right? But what I find is that the more you believe that, and the more you embody that, and the more you are a stand for that with your team, the easier it gets to build great things. So, hey, I'm about out of time, so I'm going to wrap with this and just say, listen, I would like to lead you into your awesome life. And if you think there's value in that, value in finding a community of people or someone who believes, maybe not as you do believe, but as you could believe about what's possible for you, then again, I'm going to invite you to subscribe to my channel. And thank you for your time. I'll see you on the next video.